The Imaging Hangout Podcast with Darren Robbo Robertson, Adam Burgess and Tom Cross. Talking anything and everything with a little bit of production chat thrown in for good measure. Dress code, business on top, party on the bottom.
Boom, here we go. So, is this episode 6 or 7? No,
this
7
is
or 8.
episode 8.
8.
Episode 8. And how did you just describe this, Robbo?
An audio shit fight.
This is an audio shit fight. Welcome to our audio shit fight.
And it's KIIS versus KIIS today.
How's everyone been?
Good, I think. Yeah. It's
good to be
been
back.
a couple of weeks since the last one.
I know. And by the time we get this edited, it'll be a few more weeks too.
It'll probably be near Christmas.
2021.
Happy New
2020
Year.
will be long forgotten, hopefully. That would be nice.
We should welcome aboard our guests, though. We should be that respectful.
Definitely.
We should.
Yeah.
Robbo, you go for it. You're just learning everyone's names.
Oh,
so,
no, don't throw it at me because I can't remember where everybody is. That's not fair. That's not fair.
So we've got Ollie and Jared from KIIS 100 in London.
Hello.
Oi, oi.
Oi, oi. How are we then, boys?
You all right, thanks. How are you?
Very well, very well.
You guys all right?
Yeah, we're good to have you boys on board today.
Yeah, great.
Thanks for
Lovely
having
to
us,
finally get you
man.
on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And we've got Dan over in KIIS Sydney.
Yeah. Hey, how you guys going?
It's a kiss off.
Yes.
So basically, it's the morning show, the UK show, versus the Australian night show right now. So
Yeah.
there you
The
go.
big rivalry.
Absolutely. So what's been happening in the imaging world, fellas? What have we been working on? Anything exciting?
So at KIIS Sydney, we've been working on a tactic called the KIIS cash bubble.
I've seen that.
Nice.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And it's basically $1 million prize pool where we have a bubble boy who gets into a big air machine and catches cash, basically, and then however much he catches, the listener gets, which has been really cool to work on because there's lots of soundscaping with it, creating bubbles blowing up and popping, and it's and people winning lots of money, which has been sounding great.
It sounds a bit like the end of the Crystal Maze, which
this is.
I think Tom and Jared and the English boys will get. Where's Richard O'Brien?
There's a 90s TV show that, people used to get golden tokens in a crystal dome.
That was blowing around everywhere
Yeah.
and had to grab them.
It's a 2020 version.
You can do it now in real life as well. They've got a, what do you call it, an escape room version.
There is,
of it
in London, yeah.
Or
There's an
probably
escape
everywhere
room
now.
version of it.
Yeah.
That sounds sick. I'll be well up for that.
Daniel's made a pretty cool promo that he sent through. We should chuck that on.
Yeah, see that.
Let's go straight into the audio.
Straight in.
KIIS 106.5's Cash Bubble.
With $1 million.
Up for grabs.
We got recession-breaking money to give you.
The cash is in the bubble. And when it bursts, we launch the cash.
The money's spinning! I've got a big scoop handful for you! You've won $1,575.
Thank you so much!
$600! $535! Yeah! $1,020.
And do your thing.
First cash grab with Kyle and Jackie O at 8 a.m. Then right across your workday.
I want in on that bubble. Show me the money.
From the only station with a bubble full of cash.
Sydney's KIIS 106.5.
Nice.
As far as winners promo
That's
goes,
decent.
absolute killer.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like the Bruno Mars sample.
How long does something like that take you to make? How long did that take you at a guess? Not exact, obviously.
Yeah, so I like to do a cold cut of the VO, getting the content right first. It's just how I always do promos. So sometimes I spend more time on the cold cut than I do the actual putting the music and actual production after it.
Yep.
But something like that, for instance, maybe 3 hours would be
Sure.
a realistic sort of timeline.
So when you say cold cut, you mean you'll find the music and the voice bits and the everything you want besides the sound effects and stingers and stuff, stick that together and then pretty it up. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Put some lipstick on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give it a shine.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, because I used to find I would always get stuck at a certain part in a script, and then. So doing it all from the beginning, getting the content of it right, it just works for me, really.
Yeah. And are you writing as well?
Yeah, I do a lot of writing. Myself, Chris Davis, and Derek Bargwana do most of the writing. And I mean, I will get usually like the mechanics of a tactic or a giveaway, and then I'll write around it or write around caller content, or if there's a great song. So I kind of write around a lot of content as well.
This one kind of wrote itself, I guess, wouldn't it? Because it's so much winner audio, and then you've got a specific theme of the bubble as well. Yeah,
that one I didn't write. That one was more of a teaser, kind of explaining what the comp was. So, yeah. So those initial ones are more kind of explain promos, and then you can go into more creative style where, you're using old school songs or just random callers or content out there.
Yep. Just to add colour.
Is that a sort of a similar mythology?
Methodology? Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah. Hey, look, it's early in the morning.
Cup of coffee one. Yeah, we get it.
Well, yeah, and I'm nearly done on that, sadly. Is that what Robbo said? That word there is that very similar for you guys, Ollie and Jared?
Well, in terms of the writing process,
you've got to get from point A to point B. Do you think, okay, I'm gonna sort of clean the VO first and get that in a particular structure, or do you want to set the audio first? Do you want to put it to a template? Which way do you go in?
Usually when the promo's got to be exactly 30 or 40 seconds, I just make my kind of little guide piece of audio, just kind of make something exactly 30 seconds long, and then just fit all the VO to that, get the structure roughly right, and I can decide if whoever scripted it has over-scripted it massively and I'm going to have to squash it all in, or have to work things around, or be like, cool, actually I might be able to fit a drop here and here and have the beat drop here just very roughly. And just start kind of syncing that together before, otherwise I just get in too deep and layers everywhere, and I'm like, oh, I've got to change that first line and it's not going to work.
You realise that the script takes precedence, and you have to start pulling out the creativity to allow it to fit properly.
For sure. And I love when the VAs just sit on the beat as well, when certain words hit that drop. So I like to kind of schedule that in first so that everything else can come together after it.
So you create your kind of border first and then fill in the gaps in between.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's a good method when you're got a real time pressure like that. But that's the thing with sales and promotions trailers, they've got to be 30 or 40 seconds. And you want to get as much creative in there, but you're really restricted, as Adam says. The VO has to come first, and then everything else is second.
Does anyone get why it has to be like? I don't. Luckily, I don't work for any stations that do it, but there are many stations that go, right, we've got to have a 30-second promo, or it's got to be a 45, and it's like, why? I mean, it's not like you've got a time out anymore in this digital age and all the rest of it. It's like, I don't really get it. I mean, sometimes
there is an element of that.
Sometimes 30 is even too long. Sometimes 20 is all you need.
Yeah.
Sometimes, though, I think it's just like time is value. If you look at like airtime and stuff, and it's just for business people. I'm not taking shots at business people, but I think for them, it's X amount of seconds, let's round it to the nearest 10. That could mean X amount of money. And then it's, cold cut deal, bang, 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 which I guess in business terms makes sense. It's just that then for the creative side of it, you really want to get a little bit of breathing space for that joke, or have the beat cut out just to like emphasize the drop of something coming up, or the drama or whatever. And that's where the challenge lies. Yeah. So you've got to just get everything to sit slickly within that.
It's quite an old system as well, isn't it? It's like it's been around for a long time.
It is, and
now.
I'm sure a lot of salespeople probably don't even know the reason why they go into a job, and it's like, well, you sell this, and this is what it costs for this day part, and this is your the time in which that you can sell their message. But if you started giving everyone creative freedom, you gave the producer creative freedom to put that message in, all of a sudden you'll have 6-7 minute ad breaks and sponsors either side of it, and you need to get back into the music. So it's
but would you as professionals would we go, I'm going to take a minute 30 to make this promo? I don't think we would.
Let's say you had an S&P thing going on and you gave it to a very creative producer. He's like, wow, look what I can do with this. And all of a sudden, it's 22 seconds and that client hasn't got their 30-second message, but it's really fucking creative.
Yeah.
Do you not think they'd call up and go, hang on, whoa, I want to hear my brand?
Wouldn't you, as a salesman, wouldn't your job be to turn around and say, well, we've given you 22 seconds of something that's cut. We can drag it out to 30 and fill it with shit and bore people to tears, and you won't have any cut through. And I'm paraphrasing, but you
want to do that every time. You want the stress of having to do that to every client that you do that to. I mean, I hear what you're saying.
I think we're here to sell a message. We're not here to sell a time limit. I made some promos for the breakfast show the other day for a radio station that run 20 seconds, and that's all they need to run. And that's got a credit
they probably
attached.
sold that as a 20-second message.
Well, there was no time limit. That's the thing. I was just told, make some promos for breakfast and here's the sponsor. But
I think the promos sound amazing when you can make them punch at a 20-second mark, but it's almost like producers almost feel like they're not doing their job enough if they don't blow it out to like 40 seconds or a minute.
It depends. I mean, the best bit of advice I was ever given was, and I'm sure I know there's some people who've actually said it on this show. Smarter people than me on this show have said this same thing. It's like, if you're only doing it to show off to the producer down the road, don't do it. If you're doing it because it needs to be there or it needs to do something or something needs to happen to get you to the next thing.
I think normally you spend it time just showing off to yourself.
Of course.
I think it's just when you're in that studio, you're getting super gassed and then...
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, the thing is, you're only in a box on your own. So I guess we've all like vibed on this. You know, when you're like really like zoomed in on an idea, like the tunnel vision, like you want to use that sample, you want to do it this way. You got that creative idea. You're not going to walk away from that session until you're absolutely gassed that you've got it bang on. And then normally what will happen, so say my missus will come in and like tap me on the shoulder and be like, here's a coffee, or she'll ask me something and I'll be like, oh, hang on, wait, because I'm on headphones. We both work from home. And I'll just be like tunneled in on this thing. And then if I was in the building, I'd be so hyped from doing this idea, then I'd just go straight into Jared's studio and be like, look what I made. And then, you know what I mean? We keep it amongst ourselves. It's not like doing it, but it's just when we're hyped, then we share that vibe.
It's while I'm tunneled in though, so I'm really focused. And then the door goes, and you know those big studio doors.
Oh, yeah.
When I come open, and he's like, yo! It always makes me jump. I'm focusing. Can you just...
I got to keep apologising for that.
You guys would have missed that then recently, obviously, with the working from home then.
No, it's been great.
That camera is fantastic.
Well, I'll just call you on Teams now. You get more subtle warnings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can mute that though.
I'm only messing on
So,
it.
Jared, I've got a promo here of yours, HPPTs, which is a 40-seconder. Tell us about that.
What could that mean? What could that mean?
So this is the KIIS Haunted House Party, which is back in its virtual form this year. And yeah, this is the first promo that went out last week, teasing it basically. So we hadn't said what it was going to be called this year. We hadn't announced any artists or anything. We'd just been having these very short IDs, which were just as creepy as we could make them, basically with the wording, it's coming. That was about it. And then this is the first promo that actually kind of started to explain what was coming. Sorry, I just know I'm on the phone with a bunch of lads and I'm just ready for someone to make a coming joke.
I was waiting for that as well.
That would never happen on this show, seriously. Let's just throw it on then, and then I've got a question for you based on what we were just talking about.
Jord, where are we? What's that noise? Pell, someone's having some kind of messed up house party.
Is that VHS tape? What is this, 1992?
Pell, just press play.
Jordan, Perry, you're probably wondering why you're here. You've been selected to host the KIIS Haunted House Party on the 31st of October.
This is all your fault. If you just tried a bit harder to win Dancer Than Ice.
I mean, he does have a point. Good luck.
The KIIS Haunted House Party. Details at kissfemik.com.
Nice promo, firstly.
Lovely.
Really nice sound design and stuff in there. Brilliant. But the question I had, just out of interest, was that spot on 40. Is there anything that you had to leave out or anything you had to sit and scratch your head about to put in to stretch it back to 40? Or was that just, it was there?
It actually, so we did the kind of scripting process with me, Oli, and the boss all on the phone together, because this was such a new, different concept.
Yep.
As you can tell from that promo, it's kind of more of an it almost sounds like a TV advert that you're listening to rather than
totally
promo.
It's got a very Saw vibe to it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So we quickly decided that to get this kind of concept out and have all the different voices and everything we wanted, it was going to have to be 40. We couldn't squeeze that into 30 seconds. And it was more just trying to, it could have been longer, to be honest with you, if we did all of our ideas.
That's my point. Was there other stuff that could have gone in there?
There were some things, especially like the kind of comedic timing thing, that I would have liked to let that run a bit longer, to say like maybe 45 or even 50 would have made it kind of more perfect with what I was doing. So I did have to keep trimming it down. And in fact, the beginning actually, originally, in the first version I made was our normal station VO, and it was over quite a kind of bouncy, normal sounding promo. And then we had this kind of static effect where it all gets messed up and it's like the radio's being taken over by the haunted stuff. And then it turned into that bit that you hear at the start with, the kind of cave water dripping sounds and the guys going, where are we? So that, they already lost 10 seconds from that.
Yeah.
And I was gutted because it sounded quite cool.
To hear you say that makes me, as an imaging producer, makes me sad, because you end up doing a job where you're sort of going, well, I know it's great, and trust me, I love it. It's a great promo. But when you got to walk away and you go, shit, I reckon it could have been better, as someone who's doing this stuff day in and day out, it must sometimes rip your guts out.
I was annoyed at the start to lose that bit, but when you look back at something at the end and you just think of the listener and you think, wouldn't they just be bored out of their mind and be like, what is going on the radio right now? If I had done like the full minute version of this, even if it's cool, I think they might just be like, get back to a song, please.
Does every single promo in the UK need to be to a certain length?
If it's going in the spots for us, it's usually always 30 seconds, but every now and then we'll make any length one that you can just drop in the log between two songs if it's something a bit special.
Sure.
How is that the same for you?
Because a lot of your promos in the UK for KIIS will play in the ad break, won't they? They play as the first spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that all the other KIIS stations have to kind of have the same. I assume they take ads at similar times. Is that right?
I think so.
So this is a networking thing more than a sales thing.
I think it's probably a bit of an amalgamation of both, though.
Yes.
I think it's like historically this is how it's always been done. It'd be interesting if anyone actually questioned it nowadays. It's just this is, since the dawn of time, spots have really kind of been that sort of length, and it's kind of rolled into what it is now without it maybe being questioned too much.
Well, I can give you a kind of a back answer on that, because when I was at KIIS back in 2006, we had 3 FM stations and we're all doing local content on each station. And then we took some shows from the London network. And then, of course, all the ad breaks would play at the same time because the same music log. So all the promos had to be either 40s, 30s, 20s or 10s. And so that all lined up. So I think what Adam was saying is right. It would have kind of carried on from that kind of network style into now, where KIIS is this only one feed from London that plays on digital and FM. And I think it's a combination of that that's just stuck.
Yeah.
I mean, to take that into account, we've also got KIIStory that you've got to run on there, and then KIIS Fresh.
Yeah.
And because this is, it's a massive promo for like a major event, it would have run on all those stations. So you're essentially doing it on 3 networks, and it's just like boom across the whole thing. So that would also explain why they'd have to line it all up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We only stick to, say, a 30-seconder or a 40-seconder when it goes into drive time, and then the different stations are networked.
Of course, yeah.
Well, you've got to do it there, right? There's no...
Yeah.
Because you've got a national
There's no kind
drive
of getting
show,
out of it. Yeah.
So I guess that's the difference. In Australia, you've got a local breakfast show in Melbourne and Sydney, but you share a drive show.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then both KIIS Melbourne and KIIS Sydney are in local hours outside of drive as well. And breakfast, a bit longer
Carrying
time.
the haunted Halloween stuff. Should we play Ollie's tease as well? So this is more that kind of Saw theme, which is really cool, I think, for the Halloween promotion.
1, 2, KIIS is coming for you.
UK, ready to play a game. We've taken some of 2020's biggest music stars and played
Haunted House Party, Saturday, the 31st of October from 6 p.m.
Yeah, that's awesome. Brilliant. I love that end bit.
So good. They're all killer promos, guys. They're excellent.
We hijacked the boss's daughter. Now, to be fair, she's like, I've got a 9-year-old who's great for this. And we're like, all right.
That's very Freddy Krueger.
It is, isn't it? It's great, though. It sounds awesome. You've done a great job of matching it all up. All that stuff comes straight to mind when you hear the effects you've put on those voices. It's brilliant.
And I have to say, the one thing that really stood out to me on that spot, probably more than the rest of them, was the fact that you didn't end on a station name. You allowed it to end on a piece of creativity, which actually was like, wow, hang on, that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
This is the joy of like brainstorming sessions, like when scripting. If you're doing like a major event or anything like this, I'd put it out to everyone. Spend an hour with your crew and have, if you've got an exec or a production manager or someone that's overseeing the process, it's always worth having like an hour-long call or chat before you get into any production. It might be tedious, but you save so much time of going back and forth, and then you lay out ideas. So Jared's really got a really good mind for like comedy writing and just creative writing around certain topics. So like, bang, there's that. And then we were like throwing in, okay, let's do it like Saw. Let's do it like this. Let's get the VO to do it in this style. We can maybe get a little girl to like do that. The boss is like, well, I've got a 9-year-old daughter. We're like, sick, perfect, bang. And then it's like, oh my God. And like you have it kind of laid out. And then we're like throwing out random liners. So someone said 1, 2. Then we bring out wheels on the decks, go round and round, like taking the piss out of nursery rhymes. And then someone mentions the Saw idea, and like within 45 minutes of like throwing this out, you're already hyped because you're like, these ideas are sick. Then it makes the production process so much more fun.
Yeah.
But you've not set out the sandbox in which to play in, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
And the best thing is you're not going to have like an account exec or someone at the end going, oh, actually, we're not quite sure this is the right creative process, because everyone's agreed the execution beforehand.
Yeah.
So it's like, mate, this is dope.
Can I just go back to, sorry, not to labour on it too much, but to the point of not ending on the station name. Was that something that was spoken about, and you had that idea and you were like, can we end this way? Because it's such a well-trodden formula to write in station name, creative, sandwich it out, station strapline and name for the majority of CHR stations. Did you have that conversation within the hour-long meeting and say, well, I'd really like to end it like this? Or was it just something that felt natural as you were progressing with the piece of production and you went, well, I'm going to place this here and this works perfectly? Or was there kickback on that? What was the outcome on there?
So if this sounds really wanky, I apologise. You can edit this out. A lot of the inspiration for it came from horror movie trailers. So you know how like most horror movie trailers will start with like a really calm, chilled scene of like teenagers driving to a cabin and like, yeah, holiday, good vibes, man. And then someone
you do that well,
dies or whatever. Yeah, I've had a lot of coffee this morning. Thanks, man. But then and then obviously everything goes tits up, killer, blah blah, whatever, or something happens, and then at the end it's like everything goes calm again, but in like a really dark, messed up way of like something that wouldn't seem so sinister or scary. It's like really innocent. So we thought, okay, cool, let's do it like a horror movie, have it gentle and cute kid or whatever at the front, cute little kid at the end, and have it all kick off in the middle. And then they were like, oh, we're not sure. When then I was like, okay, well, let's do a version with it and then a version without. And then we thought, oh, the version with actually sounds dope. Let's run with that. And
sure. So you kind of end on that, just that kind of calm but creepy doll sitting on the chair looking at you.
Yeah.
But it stays with you longer. I think what Adam said is right. If you had a station name at the end, it wouldn't have the same impact. It wouldn't remain with you. So I think it's good that you left it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it works because you guys have like all like jumped on it and like clicked it that way, and we just went out like thinking, oh, let's do like a horror trailer. So yeah, it all worked.
If you think of a normal KIIS promo, though, that's so left of centre of what you would expect.
Exactly.
That's the kicker with that. And I reckon tagging it with the station name would have just reminded me that it's a promo when I've just spent the last 30 40 seconds being reminded or not being reminded of that. I think that's killer.
They've been taken away from that.
The whole everything around this, and I think this is what Jared, myself, and the boss wanted to do. Is like, this didn't want to sound anything like KIIS or anything like we've done before, because this is the first time, because of lockdown, we're doing like a virtual event.
I think that almost that formula can be a switch off point to a certain extent. You know, you go into something and you know that you're going to get a little bit of this, a little bit of creative, and then a sell message, and it's been sort of indoctrinated into the listeners' minds that that's the formula, that's how radio works. And so to me, yes, I'm going to be closer than I guess the average listener, but that was something a little bit different, and ended on a creative, and it worked for me. I thought it was fantastic.
And in a creative concept as well, compared to what you've done in previous years for the Halloween Haunted House Party, it was a really nice switch up, which was great to hear. Because it's so easy just to do the same formula year in, year out, isn't it? Because it only comes round, for 1 month a year.
Mm. Oh, yeah, the temptation to rehack is always there. But that is the test of what makes a good producer. I'm joking. No, you rehash. I'm just saying, like, obviously the temptation's there, and we do that, but on this was the opportunity to go, like, out there. And
mate, without pulling your chain, guys, if you don't enter those spots in some sort of award, whatever sort of awards you guys have over there this year, you're mad. They're fucking awesome.
What's the different, as a team, Ollie and Jared, what's the... would you say the creative difference, or how do you approach it differently to each other? What angles do you go at, or do you think that you're quite similar in sort of stylistically?
Oh,
I would say Ollie's like this raging pit bull full of ideas, and I'm like this boring guy with the lead going like, yeah, but we've got to add the station name at the end on it. He's going, yeah, but what about this and that and that? And I'm like, oh yeah, but I think we just need to put the website at the end. And then between the two of us, we hopefully get quite a creative message that ticks all the boxes. What do you say, Ollie?
Just to unpack for our listeners, just quickly, at one step back, what roles do you both have? Like, that's a great question from Adam. But how do you guys work together? Are you both imaging producers for KIIS, or one takes on a separate role? What's that dynamic?
On paper, we've got the same title, but I think not to brown nose my teammate too much, but I think what works with us is that we've got a really good relationship with each other. And I'll trust him to set me straight or give me feedback or whatever, and vice versa. So we're always exchanging ideas. As Jared said, I'm a little bit more hype and loud than he is, but then that kind of works, so he can rein me in and whatever if need be. And then it's just, we always communicate and trust each other.
I'd never have guessed that. I mean, that hasn't come across in the podcast at all.
I'm going to stop talking now. And,
No. Don't stop talking, because I've got a question for you. Because if I didn't get a folder that said this promo belongs to this person and this promo belongs to this person when Tom sent me the stuff across, I would have sworn that those two promos that we've just listened to were made by the same person.
Oh.
Because that's why I think Adam's question was a great one, was either your soul brothers and you share DNA, or you talk a lot, or something, because...
We're going to get one of those DNA kits now.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, someone's coming around with a swab to stick it up your nose as we speak.
What Jared means is Ollie bursts into the studio and shares his DNA
that's
way
right.
too often.
You can get a drone to use it for the whole thing. We'll make a package out of it and anything. Nice.
But quite seriously, those promos are so close. And Adam's question was a killer. It's like, what are the processes? Do you get together of a Monday morning and go, right, this week we're doing this, let's muck around with these sounds, let's do this, let's do that? Or does it happen organically? How does it happen?
What's funny is you hit the nail on the head with one of them. Every Monday we'll take it on ourselves to call each other and just go through our working week. So we've got a system called Trello, which is basically like a card on the wall sort of system. It's work management stuff. It's like a list. So we'll go through and Jared will be like, okay, well, there's this. And I'll be like, yeah, there's this. And if we've got like a joint package where we both work on stuff, we'll divide that up together. And Jared's kind of, I think, got more of a manager's head about stuff, so he's really good at like organizing things out, and then I can like throw in my 2 pence on creativity or whatever. But yeah, we're both creative. It's just
so on a project like that, on like the haunted house stuff we've just heard, do you throw effects at each other and go, hey, I didn't use this, you might be able to, all that sort of gear? Do you get that sort of microscopic in the way you work?
Yeah, that happens quite a lot, actually. I think because generally what happens is we split these things out based on what each other enjoys doing the most. So, usually if Oli tends to enjoy more like the kind of grime and hip hop sort of things on Kiss Fresh and stuff, and I produce that kind of thing a little less. So I'm usually like, yeah, you go ahead and do this. I'll just do a few IDs from that package, and then I'll do something else in my strengths. But when it comes to my time to then do that thing, Oli might be like, oh, cool, here's like 5 drops there, or acapellas that I didn't touch, actually, if these are helpful for you at all.
That's good.
And then I might be the same with some sound design or Foley, because that's kind of the thing I enjoy doing the most. So then I might say, oh, check this out.
So in that respect, I mean, you're both rhythmic, but would you say you're more of theatre of the mind? You kind of lean towards that a little bit more, and Oli leans a little bit more towards the rhythmic side of stuff. Is that fair?
Oh, I don't know. I think we just switch month by month. It probably changes.
Yeah, it does switch up a little bit.
If someone say starts a session, so Jared, you're working on a dance, Kiss dance, whatever it might be, old school, and Oli is working on the Halloween stuff. And then you come back together, and then Jared, you've got to pick up that baton, and you've got to make a few more teasers or whatever it might be for that. Would you then swap Pro Tool sessions and leave those acapellas and Foley sounds and sound design in that session and go like, there's a load of stuff to the left-hand side of this, continue with where I've left off, with the processing, with the mastering, with that kind of stuff as well?
Generally, no. We'd never really switch sessions. Personally, I just feel comfortable in my session and personal layout, and with our slight difference in plugins. I think it's the same with you, Oli.
I don't think we've actually ever had to swap sessions unless one of us is off sick and it's like an S&P package, and in which case we'll just switch the stems or we'll share the stems. But we've always finished what we need to finish in our own sessions. So we've kind of never had to have that chat. I've just realised, like...
I think it's not so much finishing. I mean, there is that aspect of it, say, if someone was off, ill. But if you're working on, I guess, like we've displayed here with the Halloween stuff, to keep that sound consistent, I think it was more along that line of stuff, that train of thought that, right, I'm going to do this teaser promo, you're going to do this one. We are working on this Saw theme, so are you using the same vocal processing on the little girl sound or on the mock Saw VO, or are you just doing your own thing and then coming back together and going, well, they sound pretty similar, that's good enough?
Yeah, I guess it's more the second one. I think it was just that we really agreed on the concept, and we talked quite a bit about that voice and how in the sort of creative discussion we said, right, we are going to use altar boy pitched up and down on the performance in 3 different layers, and we're going to use reverse reverbs on this part and this part for all the singing sections. Oli had the idea of, actually drawing out the MIDI of these nursery rhymes and making sure we've got some kind of glockenspiel, toy box sounding melody underneath her at all times to sort of go with it. And there's so many things there that, if you both did those, they're going to sound pretty close.
Yeah, it's a good template.
So that just reminds me of a promo that I was asked to make for a Bauer station about 8 years ago. And the PD said to me, we've got this promotion on breakfast, and it's going to be Guess the Song, but I want it to sound like an ice cream van coming up. So can you do that? I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to tell you how simple it is to do that. And you just go online and you find the MIDI for whatever the song is, bring in that top line melody and change expand to, an ice cream truck sound. Here you go, like, that's amazing. How did you do that? Well, just very clever.
I didn't even think about looking up MIDI. I'm like,
that's amazing.
Figure out the notes. Oh, I actually played it in and everything.
It's easier ways than that.
Someone's already done it.
That's what you've got to keep Google in a job. God forbid they run out of business. Hey, what about you, Dan? Do you have these sort of relationships with breakfast and drive producers in when you're doing stuff that sort of runs across the day, or not so much?
Yeah, I mean, the most contact I have is with the production manager, Chris Davis. We have used bits that we've made in each other's sessions. reused in other areas of each other's work. But yeah, I mean, I guess like he's amazing for bouncing ideas and brainstorming and yeah. I mean, before I started working at KIIS, he was quite a mentor for me as well. So it's kind of it's always been kind of like a father figure dynamic, I guess.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So, but I mean, especially with the brekkie shows, their audio kind of crosses over naturally into daytime imaging in both markets, in Melbourne and Sydney. And yeah, I guess there's audio definitely shared around the network, I would say.
So we actually spoke to
Pricey.
Yeah. PAT,
yeah, a couple of episodes ago. And he's really switched on. So is he sort of grabs that he pulls out of the show, is he just stashing them somewhere for everybody to use, or do you need to go looking for your own, or do you just go to him and go, I want a grab that sort of says something like this, or how does all that work?
Yeah, I mean, that show is so well maintained. Like there's producers saving down lots of audio.
Right.
In terms of finding audio, because there is so much content there, I will usually hit him up and be like, oh, hey, I'm doing an umbrella promo. Is there any good content around the guys talking about being best friends and loving each other sort of stuff? And yeah, and he'll be across listening to entire shows. So
I'll just know straight away, won't he, if it's there or not?
Yeah. And there's another guy, an audio producer, Kian Oliver, who works on the show, cutting grabs and doing bits of audio for the show each day. Yeah, so it's well resourced.
Yeah.
In that area.
This would lead in nicely to the Cardi B tease promo you made us, which of course she featured on Carl and Jack, which is a really colourful promo.
Yeah.
She's the loosest of the loose.
Yeah, they call me Cardi B. Yes. I ain't no princess though, I'm a gangster, you know what I'm saying?
What could go wrong when she's unleashed on the Kyle and Jackie O show?
Everybody always talking about that somebody got a problem with me, saying that I'm pregnant every 2 weeks. So it's just like, y'all want to know, ask me, I'll tell you.
Cardi B, live and dangerous with Kyle and Jackie O in the morning.
I'm so excited. Woo!
Expect the unexpected at 7:30 Monday.
Hottest in the street.
Sydney's #1 hit music station.
KIIS 106.5.
Brilliant. That's so colourful. Do you know what I love about that? It's the fact that it's actually quite raw, and the content that you have in there about ask me if I'm pregnant or I'm gangster and that kind of stuff. It's not a polished. The promo itself is polished, but the content within it is reflective of the artist, like really reflective.
Her madness, yeah.
Yeah, that really comes across.
I mean, there's so much like red carpet audio to work with and kind of tying it in to own it as well. That's what I was trying to go for. And in terms of it being a part of Kyle and Jack in there as well, like she's talking to Kyle and Jack in the beginning and and reflecting on what people are going to hear being when she's on the show. So,
and what was the rapport like with Kyle and Jack and her?
Well, I wasn't actually working on the show that day already, so I did the tease, but I didn't really have much to do with it after that. I heard bits of the interview go to air. But yeah, I didn't witness the interview or anything like that.
I can imagine there's probably a lot of content within that. I don't know if it went live to air or not. Usually, I
doubt it.
A lot of this stuff is.
It was. I'm pretty sure from memory it was a Zoom chat.
Okay. Well, that would make sense in 2020. Yeah. I remember one particular interview at Capital, going back over 10 years now, and it was between the old breakfast show host Johnny Vaughan and Robbie Williams.
I thought you were going to say this.
Yeah, and they just had such brilliant rapport. And I'm listening in my production studio, ready to top and tail this, and lucky there's some lead time to it. And I'm just thinking to myself, no, that can't go to air. No, that can't go to air. And from this hour's worth of audio, probably about 15 minutes was sort of allowed to go to air because it was so X-rated. They were just two mates, down the pub. It was that kind of stuff. And I was in hysterics. I mean, it was really, really funny stuff. And I was crying in the production studio with laughter, but just thinking, you can't put this to air though. I mean, and I don't know if there's an element of, and I'm not going to say what was said. I might say offline, but there was some, very funny jokes. But is there an element of that with their interviews? You can get away with a little. It feels that you can get away with a bit more in Australia. But
when I was working on the show, I worked on their show for 2 years, and a lot of the interviews that they did, they always have such good banter and rapport with the people that they interview, and it goes through a censor process. So I mean, majority of the time, the content director is going to want to push for it all to go on air because it is entertaining and funny. But yeah, it kind of goes through legals first if it's pre-recorded, and then if it's live, it's going to be obviously censored. So, there's that. I mean, it gets pretty loose when it is live because it's a bit harder to control that sort of thing. But
how long's the delay on Kyle and Jack?
I think it's around 30 to 45 seconds.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Plenty of time.
Good delay.
Yeah.
Plenty of time for the phone to ring. Yeah.
The censor is so good on it as well. I would be stressing the whole morning if I had her job. Yeah.
Sure. Just to switch gear slightly here. There was one piece of production that I saw in your folder that I had to listen to that I'd love to know a little bit more about the backstory of, which was the Japanese music marathon sweeper. I heard that and I loved it. It was so different again. I don't know, Robert, if you could play that.
Is that just playing the Vapors turning Japanese back to back for 3 hours or something like that? Is that what it was?
Yeah, similar.
Hang on a sec here.
Yeah, I want to know what the message was about. Yeah, I think it's intriguing.
KIIS plays a mega music marathon.
1 hour straight.
Zero ads.
Keep KIIS loud.
Arigato.
I loved that. I love it. It's very good.
So we do mega music marathons, which is 1 hour straight of music, no ads, and we've obviously been banging on that message for like forever. And and the guys were chatting, and the guys were like, oh, maybe we do some sort of different accents for it to stand out and just sound a bit different rather than the traditional VOs that are kind of pushing the same boring message. So we did like German, we did Japanese, we did all these different voices and kind of themed it up to a different country.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was there anything focused within Sydney itself? Like you knew that you had a demographic of that population. There's a big Japanese population in Sydney, or there's a big German population. Was there any of that, or is it you just wanted the colour?
No, it was more. It was more like which nationalities kind of theme up the best. Okay. I would say in terms.
So it was done from a creative perspective.
Yeah, first. Not in terms of living in certain suburbs and. Yeah.
Is that something, Ollie and Jared, have you looked at, obviously with London being so multicultural, is that something that you look to do with KIIS or any of its other brands, or do you mainly keep to a pretty much the voice, the station VO, and keep things a bit straighter in that respect?
We've kind of kept it within the sort of KIIS route, I guess, like general imaging, but listening to what's that, we might actually start touching on like ideas for like other.
Isn't that a fantastic idea though?
Yeah, I just think it stands out like mad. It's really well produced. It's quirky. And I like how with like the sound design, it's still like touching on like the Japanese style of things.
Yeah, it had that kind of arcadey Japanese sort of sound design to it with the VO and the juxtaposition of Howard and that VO as well. It was just very different, and it was like kind of a bit like the ending of the Halloween promo. It just popped out to me like, oh, that's different. I haven't heard something like that before.
I guess KIIS touches on the culture, doesn't it, in London? So you kind of get that across in Carnival and on your Grime station as well. So that's more musical culture, though, rather than...
Yeah, but to me, that also fits the brand beautifully, whereas this Japanese sort of thing doesn't not fit the brand.
It's left field, though.
But it's a bit left field of what you would, I guess, normally do for it.
And it definitely sticks out. When you hear it between songs on air, it comes across cool and stands out, and you know exactly kind of what you're listening to, which is essentially the job it's supposed to do.
I guarantee after this, Jared and I will probably sit down and brainstorm some ideas based on like the way. But this is why this is so sick, man. Like, you can hear other people's work, and then it's a good inspirational chat, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
Let me rewind on something you just said. You know, people are so easily offended. People are offended by a simple Facebook post these days. How much thought do you guys put into what might be offensive? I mean, if it's clearly offensive, it's offensive. Don't get me wrong. But if you were going to do a German thing or a Japanese thing, how much if you came up with a script that was killer, would you then go searching through it to go, fuck, is anybody going to find offense in this? Or would you just go, okay, at face value, there's nothing offensive in there, let's just let it go?
That's an interesting question.
That is, yeah.
That could get very deep as well.
I had this conversation with the PD during the week, and I'm just interested in another perspective.
No, I think it's a fantastic question, and I've been watching a lot of. I don't know if you guys have heard of this man, a guy called Jordan Peterson, who was a lecturer. I think he's a Canadian guy from Toronto, and I'm still sort of working him out. But I stumbled across this guy on my YouTube travels, and he's clearly a very, very intelligent man. The one I watched last night was a debate between him and, believe it or not, Russell Brand, and discussing philosophies and creativity and how to quantify creativity, but also about what we were just saying about causing offence. And it's a great question, I think, Robbo, and it'd be interesting to know what you guys think.
Jared, do you want to, because you write a lot of comedy stuff, don't you?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, there's kind of two types of offence in radio. I think the original one, from like 5 years ago and beyond, you would just worry about what Ofcom are going to care about and what might offend basically a child, like the watershed kind of thing. So is something a bit sexually suggestive in this pun or whatever, that means we should change it, because if a kid heard that on their way to school, it would just not be okay. Whereas more recently, it's shaped into that kind of outrage culture thing where you have to consider the different types of things people are offended at now that they wouldn't have been in the past. But I personally always see it as that if the boss is happy, then I'm happy, because it's their vision of what's acceptable on their station. But yeah, our main things we've been careful of really are whenever there's a 1 minute silence or something that's going to happen, anything around Remembrance Day wording or something we might have to do, that's obviously very carefully worded. We're very careful to word our Black History Month content. That's mainly the stuff we did last year. We're very careful about the kind of top and tails, not to sound like a slogan, but to just kind of show this is KIIS. It's not just KIIS now, but that is what KIIS does. So we're very careful with that wording. Coronavirus as well, that's one where we've had to be careful, isn't it? So
that was, obviously, with everything going on over the last few months, we've had to sort of be careful with that. But I think, given the nature of the brands, we're writing for an audience that is predominantly quite young. The energy there is going to be like really fast, buzzy, and positive. So we try and touch in on that. And yeah, we do like quirky comedy bits here and there, or we might throw to something, but we try and keep it lighthearted. So yeah, it's unlikely that we'd ever sort of step on toes. And if we did, I mean, I once did a thing for Halloween, right, where the voiceover was getting killed by another voiceover. So that sounds.
We'll have to drop that in.
Oh, mate. Well, no, it never went to air. It never went. They dropped it. It got pulled.
We need to play that.
But that's what I'm saying. We're quite like Jared was saying. We're quite lucky. We've got a safety net in the form of our deputy PDs or execs who will, if it's not sort of there, then they'll be like, "Whoa, steady on, lads. Let's yank that," and then we don't have to worry about it. If it goes through the approval process and it goes to air, then if it's good enough for the PDs, then it's good enough for us, because another thing, the standards here for are mad strict. So if we get the green light, it's sweet. We're not too worried.
It's interesting, and I know times have changed. I mean, back in the 90s on Triple M, we were running sweepers that said, "Like a dog happily doing it from behind." 104.9 Triple M.
But that probably wouldn't fly here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't fly in Australia now either.
No.
Well, you wouldn't fly here now either. But here's the point, right? I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Howard Stern movie, Private Parts.
Yeah.
There's a part in there where he's just started at WNBC and Pig Vomit's trying to get him booted off the air. And I know these statistics are correct because after I went and saw the movie, I thought, fuck, that can't be true. And I did some research and they're actually true. And that it goes something along the lines of...
The average radio listener listens for 18 minutes. Mm-hmm. The average Howard Stern fan listens for, are you ready for this? An hour and 20 minutes.
How can that be?
Answer most commonly given, I want to see what he'll say next.
All right, okay, fine. But what about the people who hate Stern?
Good point. The average Stern hater listens for 2.5 hours a day.
Look, but if they hate him, why do they listen?
Most common answer, I want to see what he'll say next.
One of the most controversial guys on the air, and people are listening longer, even though they hate him, because they want to hear the next fucked up thing he's going to say.
Yeah, but probably just try and string him up for it.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
of course,
they're still listening.
But who cares? They're listening.
You know what
absolutely. I mean? That's the point.
Do you think some people get more of a free pass on it because of what to expect from their personality?
I think it's just about being aware of it and going, this is probably something to flag, and that's how I kind of always thought about it. Like there'd be some really funny things that would come through, and then I'd be like, this is pretty full on. So, and then you get more people into the studio, everyone's listening, having a laugh, and then kind of reading the room, you can tell what's too much and what's not, if it's okay, I guess. But yeah, I mean, again, it goes through the right channels and it's so heavily monitored that it's just, it's almost like you get desensitized by it all as well at the same time. If that makes sense.
Totally.
But also it's interesting because if you're brave enough to throw it out there, knowing that the sensors may pick it up, at least you can still feel like you're pushing some boundaries. You know what I mean? Like if we don't ask, we can't do it at all. Whereas if we, you know what I mean? Whereas if we ask and the sensors go, no, we go, hey, fuck, well, at least we tried, or let's take another look at it or whatever. So it must be sort of good in that way.
There's so much content there that you don't really need to try and push boundaries. Like they're already going to be pushed anyway. So
it's just the nature of the beast, as it were.
Yeah. It's like there's no point in trying to push something that's inappropriate or whatever, because something that is appropriate is already hitting the boundary anyway.
Tom, you had something you wanted to throw out there?
Yes, I want to play some more Jared's audio. He made a KIIS hype chart opener, which I thought was fantastic. Just a real nice way of doing a kind of chart show, kind of opener for opener style intro. It's really creative.
Count down, yeah.
20, 15, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Discovering music. Generating your chart.
The KIIS Hype Chart. Powered by Shazam.
Oh, this show's getting high tech. We've got a talk bed now.
I love that.
That's sick.
All right, so coming up on the KIIS Hype Chart today, we...
Oh, that would have been so good.
Go on, Ollie.
Go on, Jared, you do it. Jared, show.
No, Ollie, we want you to rap over it.
Y'all, so check this out. We're getting hype with Lucas. He's going to tell the plugins on how we made this. So we're gassed up with the best in the biz. It's KIIS KIIS. Yeah, getting it.
There we go.
It's not my piece, it's Jared's. It's Jared's piece.
And that actually is a good segue to something that we always do kind of as we get over that hour mark towards the end. We chat about plugins because everyone likes to know about who's using what.
But we need to hear about how Jared made that first of all.
So, Jared, if you
come on, Jared,
dissect that and then talk about the plugins, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. I'll very briefly talk about the concept. It was just, we had this new thing called the Hype Chart. It's powered by Shazam, so you use Shazam or the Shazam charts to work out who's at number 20 and so on. And we decided the Hype Chart could be represented as a kind of machine, so that's why we've gone for the sort of robot voice and the machinery sound design, which is kind of congruent across the rest of the show's imaging. And it was just hard I wanted to say we're counting down from 20 to 1, but without saying we're counting down from 20 to 1.
Yeah.
So,
so boring.
I decided to go 20, 15, 10.
Like, how many ways can you say
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought the tape speed up thing was kind of a cool way to get through that a bit quicker. It sounded a bit shit when I was first doing it, so this sounds so like laborious, but I actually got the numbers 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15 and put them next to each other and sped them up gradually with the same like tape speed up effects. So that little
wow
sound you hear is the actual numbers being sped up.
Fantastic. That's a lovely attention to detail as well.
Yeah.
So I guess, it's not really a plugin.
I did something similar to that once. We had to do a chocolate wheel, and the chocolate wheel had to do months, days, and years for a birthday thing. And we had a chocolate wheel, so I went down to the boardroom and I recorded it. And then, like a bit like you, methodically, I took all the years that I have to have and all the days of the month, and I sat there, and for each click that I could see, I dropped the voiceover in, and then played it back, and so it's sort of da 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 to get that whole effect. But
I think that really resonated with Tom and I because we've just done the chart show for Radio 1, and part of our process for that was also like, well, what is a chart show? I know that sounds probably quite an odd thing to say, but when you're tasked with having to come up with something like that, you can go down that sort of same well-trodden route. And for us, it was a case of, well, we'd taken notice of what was being used to image other shows and day parts on that radio station, why they were done in such a way. And to us, well, what's the difference with the chart show? Well, the chart show to us was analytical. It was data driven. But so you have the two sides of that. You have the data stuff, and then you have the human side. And the human side is the presenter. In this case, it was Scott Mills. But theme-wise, how do you portray the analytical sound? So it was a case of coming up with those kind of sounds that would marry together quite nicely to kind of push that vision forward. And so when we heard the Hype Chart stuff there, again, it was a case of, oh, you haven't gone down the traditional routes. The traditional, there is a twist on that traditional format, and it's come across really nicely.
Thanks, man.
Now tell us about your plugins.
Another plugin.
So modest, isn't he? He's just so chill about the whole thing.
You're not blushing, are you? Come on.
Yeah, lucky that we've not got any cameras there.
That's what you think.
Plugins wise for that one, it's hard to say any specific plugin that stood out for that, but just generally speaking, I been using the audio suite a lot and just rendering things in rather than insert plugins recently.
Is that for ease of use more than anything, do you think?
I think it's for like the extra control you can have around something and the kind of effect layering you can see, and I guess you add that extra parameter of being able to physically chop it and move around the thing that you've rendered. So I've been using a lot of reverse stuff to kind of blend things into each other, and there's a bunch of free plugins from, I think it's Melder Production. There's one called Comb, which is essentially a comb filter, but it's just got these wacky presets where you can just make this really long, interesting tail on any sound, and I use it for the first kick in a beat or maybe a certain syllable in the VO or the drop, and just do like 3, 4, 5 of these separate tracks with a big tail with some completely different tone and timbre to it, and then we'll just reverse them all and have one coming from the left and one from the right and filtering in, and just make this really unique sort of thing that just is better than a reverse reverb.
They do some really good stuff. We were using the Antares EFX on because it's so simple just to put on a channel and get that to tune stuff. And we upgraded quite a while ago whenever the new version came out, and we found that whatever they've done to it, it just doesn't work quite as well, to put it simply. And this company that you were talking about, they do a free version of like a pitch correction, and it works fantastic. And it's got the nice formant on there, and it's got a width and obviously the dry wet setting and stuff. And it's good stuff.
And it's free.
And it is free.
Yeah.
There's something about using the audio suite stuff, isn't there, that you sort of, once you've done it, you're locked in. You can't sort of go, actually, that thing I did 3 steps back, I now want to go and undo that.
I definitely have that worry sometimes once I audio suite. I'm like, oh no, there's no turning back.
Either that or you end up with half a dozen tracks, because you'd copy the track down and then just
That's what I do, yeah.
Exactly.
Just so you can step back.
It's quicker than going to the region list or the region list trying to find the files.
That's right. File, which one is it? God, especially if it's a massive session. God, imagine trying to do that with this podcast.
So go on, Dan. What's your go-to plugins then?
So a lot of pitch and time is kind of like an oldie but a goodie. I use that daily. And meta flange on a lot of vocal sort of effects. And then the Waves tune, I think it's just the light version. Mm-hmm. I'm always getting like kind of vocoder sort of auto-tune sounds out of that, and layering vocals. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with messing around with music, it's just so much pitch and time, whether it's kind of gradually bringing it down and bringing it back up to kind of go with the VO. That's kind of how I use it.
And what about you, Ollie? Is there a piece of production that we can use to demonstrate something, and then go through what was used in there? Yeah.
Oh, on the spot.
What
Luckily,
have we got?
I might have a folder.
It's Friday! Oh, Valentine's Day, innit? You forgot as well, yeah? Valentine's Day card, last minute delivery. All right, cool. It's KIIS.
So was that last one Effectrix with little Alter Boy as well?
The Valentine's Day one's more Effectrix with a tiny bit of Alter Boy in the background. The one we're about to hear is going to have like some formant automation. So that's done with Alter Boy. And if you kind of do a track with formant processing, a track with tuning, and then a track with Effectrix running over it, or even Effectrix running on top of tuning, you get like some quirky like width, reverb, and like a vocoding effect all built into one thing. So you can it can be mad powerful if it's like a little bit of everything. If it's like a big batch of stuff, then it's like, whoa, it's like having a burger with too much cheese in it. You're not gonna get it. Do you know what I mean?
What an analogy. Fantastic.
Yeah, you know my favorite sound.
Very nice.
You can definitely hear the Effectrix in the front there.
So that's like tonal delay running on the samples at the top. It's just like you get that little vocoding effect and like the width on it, which you do with like the reverb and the chorus, but only like up a little bit on the mix. And then the Valentine's Day one, when she goes like, that's the X loop bit that you draw in, and then you just add a little bit of reverb and add a little bit of chorus, and then that's how you get the width on there.
Hot on the back of the favorite plugin question is my favorite question, because I'm big into this stuff. Creativity and ideas and stuff like that. Do you guys keep journals? Do you write stuff down? Do you just go with what feels good in the moment in terms of scripts and plugins and all the rest of it? Do you have any sort of rules or?
Do you have a book of rhymes, Ollie? That's what we're saying.
I'm a weirdo, so when I freestyle, it all just randomly comes in the rap side of things. I can't actually write. Now, I think when I started off, and also due to the people that were training me, they really drilled in stuff into me, and I had like notes saying, try this, do this, make sure that these steps are done. Really focus on like things being in key and pitch. Because when I started off, I was a really, really, really shit producer, and I had like I was rhythmic, but I had no like real knowledge of like music theory, and I didn't really understand the importance of like being in pitch or like major and minor keys. So I got all these things like drilled into me almost like a boot camp, and they were like, no, this is shit. You've got to try this, or like just get things in pitch, do things like that, try and get all these like EQ things right. And then you write loads of things down in the process when you're starting up, so you refer back to your notes. So that kind of stuck with me for a long time. But then I guess when you get into your swing of things, you look less at those notes and you sort of look more towards your own bits and then the bits that other producers like your peers are doing. So I'll get mad inspiration from Jared, for example, or of you guys with Blueprint, or even I'll listen to stuff from like KIIS and Nova from Australia on like SoundCloud and that.
I guess to a certain extent those notes become second nature though, because those are the basis of what you're building on. So it's kind of production 101. So it's like, well, okay, this is the best way. These are qualities that you need to look for in a voice, or how to EQ. This is how a compressor works. And once you've got that down, you go to it as your brain just kind of does it, and then you look to build upon that and find your own style.
Yeah, right. And once you've got like your own style and sort of signature sound, and you know that works, then you can like build on that and then roll forward. I think someone told me once, you should always be looking at like other ways to keep things moving, because a brand is never going to stay static. If you stay static, you're dead. That's what this person said to me. So we're always, and we're all nerds here, right? So we're always going to be looking at like new plugins, new techniques and things just out there to sort of stay fresh and keep moving, being on top of music and things and experimenting with other genres, whether that be drum and bass, house, tech, grime, garage, or whatever. It's nice to sort of play around. Or like with Daniel's thing from earlier on with like the Japanese voice. Do you see what I mean? It's just, with branding, you've got to keep moving.
Do you see stuff in everyday life and you go, shit, there's a promo in that, or there's something in that? And it doesn't mean it has to be a TV show, but just an idea that if you're writing a promo, you see something that goes, or hear a song lyric and it sparks something and you go, shit, I got nothing for that now, but there'll come a time I can use that.
Yeah, I do that all the time as well.
And I do that all the time. I like text myself. Like I just write in a text message to myself. Like if I see a funny tweet, or if I think of like a stupid dad joke that might work in a VO later on, or hear a good drop in a song, it's always like my text to myself. I text myself more than anyone else, I think.
The amount, you know what? To big him up, the amount of times we'll have like something in the wings and we need to generate ideas, right? We'll talk about it and put some rough ideas down, and then we'll say, all right, we'll come back to this on Monday, or we'll come back to this tomorrow. Then Jared will jump on a call with literally like pages and pages of like these quirky one-liners or just these ideas. Because you told me this once, you sit in bed and then you just think of like random jokes or like funny things based on what you've experienced in the day, and then and he's got like loads of ideas in the morning.
Well, that one was Christmas. We had to come up with funny Christmas stuff, and I was literally I just couldn't sleep that night. I was just I don't know why, but I was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to start Googling dad jokes and Christmas puns. And I was just like, the ideas got sparking, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. And it ended up being some of the funniest stuff we've made, wasn't it?
They call me Buddy, thinking about it. They call me Father Christmas, colder than a snowman.
You just stick to that present wrapping, Father Christmas. It's all I want for Christmas. We're giving away more presents next hour. All I want for Christmas is back, and we're giving away presents right up until the big day. Father Christmas, it's your line.
Oh, sorry, man. I need to quit eating so many mince pies. It's bad for my health. Get it?
Oh, just keep listening to KIIS.
We even had presenters come out of their studio while on air to knock on our production doors, and I mean that, but they're just next door, so it's not that far or a risk. They've got a tune playing.
Not a risk.
But yeah, but they'll when presenters come off, and they'll come and big us up.
It's awesome.
And that just shows, in it.
Do you think there's an aspect of that? Man. Do you think there's an aspect of that because when you're thinking of that stuff, you're not in the studio, so your mind is engaged in a different way. So it allows you to be a bit more free, but not under pressure. You're not sitting in front of Pro Tools going, "Oh crap, I need to come up with a joke or a funny to work with this promotion." You've taken yourself away from that environment. You're in bed. You can't get more relaxed, really, and it just allows your brain to breathe.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, anytime you get told come up with something now, it's always like a creativity blocker, isn't it? You're sat at Pro Tools like, oh, fuck knows what I'm going to do with this. You need something to spark a bit of an idea to lead.
Tom gets those from me in the car every now and then, and it'll just be a screenshot of the RDS display. I'd have heard a lyric.
I thought you were going to say a fart.
RDS fart.
No. And so I'll be in the car and I'm driving and I'm like, oh shit, well, pick up my phone, I'll kind of try and snap and I'll send it, and then maybe a bit later, but what was that about? Oh yeah, so that song, there's this lyric in it, will be great for an idea.
The idea process, doesn't it? And then when you come to it, it's so much faster to make it.
Yeah, we both got notes of stuff that works, and I think the latest one was very simple, but it was the latest Miley Cyrus single and the running in it. It's like, I know there's no marathons or anything like that going on at the moment, but that's a great sample. At some point, that will become relevant again. Or, a sample that's good for Valentine's Day. Well, it's over. Might have to wait 8 months or whatever it might be. But the notes are there. They're worth digging into and it's ready to go.
Yeah. Clip it up, chuck it in a folder, and it's ready for next year.
And it's interesting about the time of day too. As I said, I'm into this stuff a fair bit. I love reading about it, and I was reading about one last night, and I've been scratching my head trying to think of the term, but it's something memory. But anyway, I'll find it and I'll stick it in the show notes for this episode. But basically what the research is showing is that if you get up in the morning and the first thing you do is you look at Facebook, or if you go and turn on the news, or if you do read the newspaper, all of this stuff, your brain automatically goes into this mode where it's thinking about a whole bunch of other things. And what the whole research is based on basically is, if you want to come up with ideas and you want to do it at a time that is best, the best time is when you wake up in the morning, but you can kill that time by looking at the news, by looking at Facebook, because what your brain automatically does is it starts thinking about that stuff that you've looked at, even if you think you're not. Subconsciously. So basically, if you want to have your best ideas, get out of the bed in the morning, have some breakfast, do whatever you need to do, but don't look at your phone, don't look at the TV, have your breakfast, and then grab a piece of paper and write down everything that comes into your head. And research is showing that that's actually going to be the best list that you'll probably come up with in the day.
Wow. So keep your palate fresh, but use it for the good stuff.
That's right. So it might only be a 5-minute thing. If you go, shit, I've got to write this promo today or tomorrow, then wake up in the morning and go through that process. And the research is proving that that's the best way to do it. You'll come up with the most ideas anyway.
Does that work for you, Dan?
I need to try that. I haven't tried that before, but in terms of ideas and that, I guess I get a lot of inspiration out of movies and TV, and even like social media, seeing like an Insta story I think I sent a piece of audio to you guys where it's like an 80s Post Malone. I was going to
ask you about this, the Post Malone. Yeah, where does the idea come for that? Because it's very, again, it's left field like the Japanese one.
Yeah, because I think my girlfriend sent me a video of this guy doing an 80s remake of a Post Malone song. And then I was like, oh, that'd be an awesome
there's quite a few going round of Cardi B WAP, isn't there? Have you seen those ones? And DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
There's a guy who does like 80s funk versions of how it would sound.
Yeah.
So is it that kind of theme?
Yeah, this one was really old. This was like a couple years ago. But
of course, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, similar scenario where they're kind of remaking new songs with an 80s vibe.
He did the videos to go with them as well, didn't he? This guy.
Yeah,
the new guy did that back in 2018. Is that with the videos too, or was that all audio?
Yeah, no, it was with videos. Yeah,
and they're
great.
Very high production value as well for the fact that it was done in this guy's bedroom or whatever. It was really well done.
Yeah, so I saw that and I was like, oh, that'd be great to ride around and
nice.
Yeah, I'll let you guys hear it.
Well, here's some 80s posty.
If Post Malone released his song Better Now in the 80s, we imagine it would sound something like this. You probably think that you are better now. Hey, let's fast forward to 2018.
What's going on, y'all? This is Post Malone.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so it kind of ties in and I mean, I actually liked hearing the song, the 80s version. But I was like, oh,
it was a great version of it.
Maybe I could flip it and say that it sounds terrible when it actually sounds quite good.
It's a nice way of just doing the same old, sweeper into the Post Malone's new track as well. So it like you did with the Japanese one, it's just doing something different that will catch the listener's ear because they won't expect to hear that on KIIS.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
nice one.
I think that just goes to show because you want to stay within like the regions of the brand and stuff as well, but also I think this is why people are interested in what we do, but not necessarily like know much about it. Is because it's like, oh, it's like the jingle stuff. It's just that stuff there that like does the branding and the jingles and things. And then someone will always like mention, oh, did you hear this thing when it kind of jumped out, or suddenly you'll stop in the car. But if you talk about advertising, for example, I mean, this is like a little bit off. I'm digressing a bit, but people will always remember really shit commercials or commercials that are like really quirky and different. And that's, I think, the case with like our imaging. I'm not saying any of us do shit imaging. Like the quality and the tech on this has been amazing from what I've heard. But like it's been stuff that would jump out, that would be outside the norm. And that's like
that is so true. That sort of stuff sticks with people for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I don't know whether you guys get it over there. Do you know, like when you're talking to people who aren't in the industry, like you were mentioning, like the way, the things people call it, like I don't know if you guys, when you're trying to explain it to someone, you sort of go, all the stuff that goes between the records, or, this weekend, listen, because you could win a car, blah, blah, blah. And people go, the ads, the ads between the records. Yeah, right. I love those ads. It's like, yes.
I literally have to role play it out to people because they don't get it. If you why is it called, do you know what? I don't understand this. If someone can explain, why is it called imaging production?
It's a big trendy thing these days. You create an image for your brand. So, it's basically the radio station doing that. But yeah, you're right. It's foreign to people, and it always will be, unfortunately. That's just the way it is, I suppose. That's the smoke and mirrors of what we do, isn't it?
Exactly. Jared, should we play one more piece from you before we have to wrap this up?
I kind of want whatever is played for Oli to describe it in his own unique way, how he acts it out for people.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. Kiss the ring, live and direct. Let the media hype this.
Touch it, bring it, pay it, watch it, turn it, leave it, pay it. Sorry, not sorry.
Let's see.
Fantastic. Now, Oli, you need to describe that to your mum's 60-year-old friend. Go.
History Weekender. Then she'll have a heart attack and something will happen.
And then you go, that's what I get paid to do.
That's right. Yeah.
Make some funny noises.
Love it.
Aren't we blessed? Aren't we blessed that we get to do it?
We certainly are.
Absolutely.
I think that is a lovely way to end this episode of the podcast on that lovely high.
Can I just say, gents, there is, in that podcast, there is some fucking stunning imaging. You guys, all three of you are doing such amazing work.
Yeah, fantastic stuff, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
I
guys.
appreciate that.
The Imaging Hangout Podcast with Darren Robbo Robertson, Adam Burgess and Tom Cross. Talking anything and everything. Want to join in the conversation? Just message one of the guys.